seen any World Cup squad that doesn't bring controversial talking points, that doesn't get us talking over and over again. Every time a World Cup squad is named in this country, there's a lot of things to say. Cleverly, the Ghana Football Association did not say whether that 28-man squad released by Carlos Queiroz is what the 26-man squad could come out of. But sometimes you derive your conclusions out of words. Basically saying that it's a squad for the World's game. We absolutely know that. But also reminding us that it's a squad for World Cup preparations. Now, the World Cup commences on June 11th. Ghana plays its first game against Panama on June 17th. You can surmise, as I have, then that this squad that will play against Wales, that's began gathering in Wales to play against the Welsh national team, is where the Black Stars 26-man squad that will step up and play in the World Cup will come from. It's quite easy to figure that out and figure that out effectively. So, as with a lot of squads, the interest often is not in who has gotten in. Most of the time, the interest in who has gotten in is as intense as who didn't get in. So let's start with the surprises of who gets in. Depending on who you follow, you wouldn't be surprised that Baba Rahman got in. There were a lot of signs from at least one journalist, I think it was Rahman Osman, that in many ways, maybe Baba Rahman was going to get into this squad, or that he wanted to get into this squad. It's sort of been building up and bubbling over the last few years. Rahman was not great at the last World Cup in Qatar. Let's be honest about that. But so have a lot of players not been great in the Ghana national team over the last few years. Rahman then said after he was booed at the Baba Sports Stadium that he wanted to step back from national team duties and not play again. And I think on many occasions, as he went on to have a good season, to have multiple good seasons in Greece, scored goals for his club side, has played consistently, whether in Europe or in domestic championships, it was obvious that at some point he will get back in. And nothing moves a player to get back onto international duty than major tournaments. So whether it's the Nations Cup or the World Cup, and Rahman has taken that path. It's a path that Rahman has walked, but this is a path many other players have walked. We had this conversation before the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Michael Essien stepped back for a while. He came back before the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Kevin Prince-Boateng, in fact, after the 2010 World Cup, literally did not play for this country again. 2014 World Cup came around, he rediscovered his fervor, energy, bite, attitude for Ghana, and he came back into that team. Andre Ayew and Jordan Ayew at some point quit the national team when they were dropped by Kwesi Appiah before the 2013 Nations Cup. And then when we qualified for the 2014 World Cup, or I think during the qualifiers, I'm not sure about the exact timing, all of that changed, and they were back in the side, and for good reason too. I think that inevitably, as we say with the regular side of life, only a fool doesn't change their minds. It's up to the coach then to make a decision about who they want to call and what they want to do with the team. I know with Baba Rahman, and it's fair, let's be honest about that, a lot of things get lost in the process. You know, this guy who signed for Chelsea, this guy who was one of Ghana's most promising left backs, this guy who we all thought could become an absolute left back great, has had his difficulties, particularly in the national team shirt. He had the difficulty of getting booed and embarrassed at the Baba Stadium, which should not happen to any player on international duty when they sign up for the country. And these incidents, one or two faulty passes, a few bad games in the national team jersey, has sort of obscured what he brings to the team and what he doesn't bring to the team. And effectively, it has become the background to which a lot of discussions around him are held. Yeah, there are a lot of players who have made this squad who have been no worse than Baba Rahman. That's not defending anybody. So it's just putting across that the return of Baba Rahman and what people find so disdainful in how does a player opt out and just opt back in like that is pretty much what the very nature of sport is. I'm not going to mention some name because sometimes when you put some name in a debate, it's almost sacrilege. But the principle of I am tired, I've taken a break, or I am tired, I don't want to play again, has been with us from time immemorial and will be with us for as long as possible. Of course, the Rahman conversation is also made a lot more complex by the fact that Darren Cohn has missed out. Cohn is a brilliant player. He's got an even better human relation. He's engaging. He speaks to the media. He shows up in Accra and turns up in radio stations. He turned up at Media General, and we absolutely loved that. The conversation about Kun in the national team, of course, is a call that's got to be made by Carlos Queiroz. And Queiroz has decided that he doesn't want Kun in his national team. I hope that this is where Kun's demonstration or his avowed verbal commitment to Ghana will show. Because if he wanted to play for Ghana merely because he wanted to play at the World Cup, then this will not be just a disappointment. It's okay that it's a disappointment. It's okay that he is happy that he's not been called up. It's okay that he will be hurt by the fact that at 25 or 26, he possibly will have to wait another 4 years before he gets his World Cup chance. What will not be okay is if this affects and if this keeps him thinking, why did I choose Ghana? Because trust me, you don't walk into that Germany team. Nobody does. England have dropped Alexander-Arnold, Maguire, and the rest. All of them would, when the European Championship qualifiers return, will show up. So the commitment of Kun and others will be to prove to the rest of us that for a lot of diaspora-born players, like a lot of players born in Ghana who choose to represent this country, missing out on a major tournament is not a reason to all of a sudden scale down your commitment to the country. It shouldn't be, because then what it does is that it leaves us with an inevitable conclusion. The only reason a lot of players show up for us, the only reason a lot of players sign up for us is when the cookie is ready to be eaten. Nobody shows up to take part in that process. So whilst Kun's omitment, for those who say that we should back diaspora-born players as much as possible, is painful, it is not an example of how this country does not treat diaspora-born players right. Diaspora-born players are due the same measure of picking players for the national team as players who were born here. Like Senegal showed with Malang Sarr, like Congo DR have shown with a lot of players. When you commit your fortunes and your international fortunes to another country, you are bound by the same rules like everybody else. And I hope that Kun comes back strong, goes back to the club side, delivers strong performances, and proves to Carlos Queiroz or whoever the next Black Stars coach will be that he is a player we can trust and build with for the next 4 years. It's even more important, which is why I admire Joseph Paintil a lot. He was pained, understandably, by the omission from the last World Cup squad. And then he said the things that he had to say. Otuado has left. It's ironical, but he stood a better chance with Otuado than without Otuado. Because then Otuado would have been thinking in his mind, look, maybe I didn't give this guy a first crack for Qatar 2022. I cannot afford to leave him out for this time. With Carlos Queiroz, he's been omitted from the squad. It means that in 2 World Cups he's missed out. This will bite, this will hurt, this will be even more painful because he plays his club football in the US of A. He's a pretty decent footballer. It would have meant a lot to him. So I feel for him because he's one of those few wingers who have an end product, who have, watch my lips, an end product. Too many players in this Ghana national team show up and don't show up on the pitch. They show up with the swag. They show up with the beautiful clothes, with the gorgeous bags. They show up with the energy. They show up with the live TikToks. They show up with informing us, but they don't show up on the pitch when it matters most. And that for me remains a constant disappointment. So as these 26 players have been selected, we can only hope that the right things comes out of them. 1 or 2 conclusions from it. Obvious that Ghana wants to build with Riverson for a very long time. He played for the under-20 in the past. It's obvious that the Ajax junior goalkeeper is somebody that the country has a long-term view to. And I can see where the thinking is. Goalkeeping is a constant problem in this part of the world. And we are still having a conversation about Solomon, about Benjamin Asari, about Lawrence Atizigi, about all the goalkeepers. And we've identified a young goalkeeper with the Ajax junior side who we think could become a major deal for us going forward. And it's clear to see where the collapse and where his constant inclusion in the team is heading towards. So it's beautiful to see. Now, the players who have gotten in, I am happy for Enes Nyama. I'm happy for Kamaldeen Sulemana. He's going to another World Cup. I'm happy for Fatawu Issahaku. I'm happy for Iñaki Williams. But just as we are happy for them, we also ask one thing of them. We ask that their tournament performances becomes way better. 4 years ago, we welcomed Iñaki with open arms. We were so delighted. He had chosen to play for Spain. The numbers with Atletico Bilbao is great. I did a video in the past and said, well, the Will Kamaldeen Sulemana stand up. He stood up a few match days for Atlanta and then literally sat down again. I think Fatawu Issahaku is a brilliant player, but Fatawu Issahaku should be delivering more for Ghana. Semenyo, absolutely brilliant player. 21 goals this season. Can we get 3 from Semenyo in the knockout in the group phase of the World Cup? The point I'm making is that whilst we've lambasted coaches, whilst we've lampooned them, whilst we've discussed them, maybe sometimes we've not asked enough questions of the quality of the energy of the end product that these players bring to our Black Stars, and that has got to change. I will end with this. Remember, Ghana's World Cup history is replete with players who step up during the World Cup and write their names in indelible ink. 4 years ago, Mohamed Kudus became an absolute undiluted fan favorite with those 2 goals against South Korea. Say whatever you want to say about Dede Ayew. We knew that when it was down to a fight, he never ran away from one in the way that he approached it. Dede Ayew against Germany in Brazil. Dede Ayew against USA in 2010. Dede Ayew against Serbia. Dede Ayew against whoever. Dede Ayew with the energy and everything across, but not just in World Cup, in major competitions, And these are players who stepped up and did it effectively. Unfortunately, with too many of our current players, you can't say that. You can look back with nostalgia on the sort of quality of games that they've played for the national team. So that's why the likes of Semenyo, the likes of Fatawu Issahaku, the likes of Kamaldeen Sulemana, the likes of Iñaki Williams, the likes of Kwesi Sibu, all of them need to step up and say, this is my tournament. Otherwise, the invested emotions will not take us anywhere. There's got to be something that radically changes. And maybe Carlos Queiroz's motivational notes on Facebook will translate into the minds of the players, and it will become motivational notes where it matters most on the football pitch and translate into an attitude that makes all of us proud. That ensures that on the 17th of June, on the 22nd of June against England, and later on against Croatia, that by the time we play Croatia in Philadelphia, they will give us reason to be extending our stay in the USA, Canada, and Mexico, to be booking hotels in new cities and the rest, to be making ultimate plans. Because what's a World Cup without heroes? And nobody benefits from a World Cup than footballers. They've got to pay us back by being our heroes in that competition.